Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Hey everybody, welcome to the landing party. I'm your host, Graham Nolan. Tonight we're talking about the Changeling, episode 37. Captain's log, stardate 2501.29. Written by John Meredith Lucas, who will eventually take over as producer of this show when Gene L. Kuhn leaves, and directed by Mark Daniels. If, when you watch Star Trek The Motion Picture, you thought to yourself, this plot sounds familiar, you were right. Roddenberry must have loved the idea enough that he used it again in his failed series, The Quester Tapes, and of course for the motion picture. In the original first draft, Mariner, then changed to Altair, and finally the name Nomad came later during DC Fontana's rewrites, was a giant machine, and only a small piece was brought on board the Enterprise, much like the probe Elia was to V-Ger. It's yeoman Barbara Watson who attracts the probe with her whistling and has her mind wiped clean. Kirk doesn't defeat Mariner with logic. Instead, he feeds the machine the Enterprise computer files containing the complete maddening history of Earth. This drives Mariner and the probe crazy, forcing it to blow apart in space. Not great, but some good structure there. In another version, Scotty is killed by getting his head caved in like a watermelon. And they reference that. And then, of course, Nomad or Mariner or Altair, whichever version it was in that part of the script, fixes him, brings him back to life. Gene L. Kuhn and DC Fontana made a lot of changes to make it the episode we now know. The yeoman was out and Uhura was in to get her mind wiped. This gave her another opportunity to sing on the show with a slightly different version of Beyond Antares, which was last heard in The Conscience of the King. Scotty is now killed by getting zapped by Nomad. When Jimmy Doohan read the script, he got to the second act break where he is killed, and he thought he was being written out of the show. He knew he was signed on for 6 more episodes, but he didn't know what to think until he read the third act and saw that Nomad revived him. Vic Perrin, the control voice from The Outer Limits, was the voice of Nomad in this episode. He was also the voice of the Metron in Arena, and he'd return again, this time on camera, as the Halcyon negotiator in the upcoming Mirror Mirror. The excellent upcoming Mirror Mirror, I might add. We have no firsts in this episode, unless you count the first appearance of V-Ger. However, Kirk has ditched his wraparound tunic for the standard gold one here. The wraparound's not done. It's going to come back. And the image of Jackson Roy Kirk that shows up on the computer screen, I always wondered who that was. It's actually director Mark Daniels, and he's wearing Scotty's dress red tunic uniform for that picture. I always thought it was kind of weird looking with the Abraham Lincoln beard. I don't like the beard without a mustache. I find that startling. But so be it. That was Jackson Roy Kirk. So there you go. There is our captain's log. And now we'll beam in who is here in the landing party right now. We have Jackson Roy Aaron.
Not to be confused with Jackson Roy Kirk.
That's right, because Jackson Roy Kirk doesn't have a mustache, but Jackson Roy Aaron does. So wondering which one is which, now you know.
And I'm not the creator either. So that's
You're the creator of Wraith of God.
No, yeah, there you go. So Nomad's partially right. what can I say about this episode, Graham? Uh, it seemed fresher before I saw Star Trek One. I can tell you that. But there's some good stuff going on here. But like we talked a little bit in the green room, and actually I want to hear what you have to say about this. That this is a good episode, a really good episode, but there's a huge plot hole in it. Can you jump right into that and tell me what?
Yeah. They're trying to show, Nomad's abilities, and he wipes Uhura's mind clean, and they're able to re-educate her in a day, back to college level.
Well, it's a couple days, wasn't it?
Okay, well, all right. Let's say it's a couple days.
Yeah.
The woman is 30 years old, and she's got 30 years of life experiences. And if your mind is wiped clean, okay, let's say they have a way to force feed math and history and English and all those things into you. Her memories are gone. She doesn't remember who she is. She doesn't remember why she's here. She doesn't remember what she was taught at Starfleet or any of her experiences. They're completely gone. But by next episode, she's right back there.
Well, even more confusing, and maybe you can answer this for me, is how does she know Swahili?
Well, there's another thing, and Rick 1662 agrees. He says, how does she know her home language?
Okay,
Yeah.
but here's the problem, though. That is such an obvious thing that I can't believe the writers would not have thought that. So my feeling is, and I thought about this last night because that's always bugged me. It's like she's learning how to read and she knows Swahili. Where does the Swahili come from? I don't think her entire memory was wiped. I think it was just that the information section, not her personality section. You know what I mean? So like, I mean, that's splitting hairs and they didn't really get into it, but that's the only thing that makes sense because she was still Uhura. She knew she was Uhura. She still spoke Swahili. So
and English.
And English, right? She could speak it. She just couldn't read, right? So there has to be a limit to what knowledge got wiped. And it wasn't like she's just a complete clean slate.
Right.
It couldn't have worked otherwise. And why would they have purposely written in the Swahili when they knew that her mind was just, there's nothing there?
Yeah.
So part of it had to have been salvaged or left.
Well, let me deal with Neil Gaiman's homemade truffle butter for $5. If you had to be pro by Nomad, the old-fashioned way would be: would you rather take it through the eye or via the more traditional route? I think he's addressing that to you, Aaron.
Well, me,
he also says the memory wipe was in error.
Meaning that it was Nomad's error or it was a script error? Because if it was an error, then Nomad's four things that Nomad.
That's right. Nomad is not as infallible as Tanru led him to believe.
And also, you got to ask yourself if he took her memory or whatever he took from her memory, why couldn't he just put it back?
I don't know that he took it, I don't think he absorbed it. I think he just wiped it or cleaned it.
In other words, it was, as he said, that she's functioning irrationally. And
right.
So he wiped it because it was not functioning correctly.
What was that great line? A mass of conflicting impulses.
Yes, exactly. It was like,
that's a woman.
I know. What a great
mass of conflicting impulses.
But see, here's the thing. This is the thing that's fascinating about this show, not to quote Spock, but they were, Gene Roddenberry and many of the people, I guess, involved in the show kind of viewed themselves as progressive, right? And yet they still treated the women in this film in the television show, like they were being treated at the time, in the 60s or whatever, right? There was, the massive conflicting emotions.
As Gene Roddenberry claimed to be, he was also one of the most misogynistic people.
Yes.
In
That's
the world.
what I'm trying to say.
He was, laying track all over Hollywood.
But how often do we actually see that? You got people like our good friend Neil Gaiman, saying one thing on social media, but then doing something entirely different in secret.
True. Yeah.
So,
Those that protest the loudest are the ones you got to look out for.
yeah, you got to keep an eye on, right?
Here's another thing that bothered me. And this is just a minor thing because, you can't really get caught up too much in continuity, but it's noticeable when you're watching it as we are in the order that they're filmed. The whole episode opens up with them going someplace and Spock telling Captain Kirk that this whole system has been wiped out. How can that be? We just did a survey last year and there's millions and millions of planets. Not even the something blood virus can work that quickly.
Right.
Well, you just got done with the Doomsday Machine, which had also wiped out the whole star system. So the concept of something doing that is completely believable to them. It should be believable to them. In fact, their first thought might have been, is it another Doomsday Machine?
That's an excellent point, but this brings up another point, which is they never, with the exception, well, even then they didn't do it. They never referred, and correct me if I'm wrong, to any other episodes. Every episode was its own thing. The characters got consistent but there was never just like it happened on Cestus 6, they never reference any previous episodes or anything that happened in previous episodes. And
I think there was one point where they mentioned something happening on one of the other episodes. I'm pretty sure they did, actually.
But it might have been not till the third season, though.
It could be.
Because I'm trying to think.
Maybe Lynn knows. She knows all that kind of stuff. She's sick in bed, and I hope you feel better, Lynn.
Can she crawl to the computer and type?
Yeah, can you? Well, she must be watching it on her computer, possibly. So maybe she can figure it out and tell us what that is.
Yeah, Harry Mudd. There you go. Harry Mudd was, yes, that's correct.
Yeah, but there was another one where they referenced something that happened on this planet. Like the such and such. Yeah, it was just an offhanded piece of dialogue, but I remember it did connect.
And I wonder if they just avoided that simply because, well, like you said, they didn't know necessarily what order some of these episodes were going to air in.
Right.
And so it was kind of like, don't reference that because it might not have, the episode might, predate this one. And I can get that, especially since it seems like if you look at when they were shot and then when they were aired, even in the second season, they are really screwed up in terms of when they showed them and when they filmed, in what order they filmed them in. So it speaks volumes about how caught up in special effects they did sometimes. That
Johnny Throttle's right. I think it was the Organian Peace Treaty that's mentioned.
Organian Peace Treaty. That was first season, right? The Organians.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of what episode they referenced it again, but
yeah, Brian Borden agrees. Organian Treaty was mentioned after Errand of Mercy.
Yeah, what episode?
Yeah,
because that would be interesting.
It could have been Day of the Dove.
Yeah.
The Klingons are back in that one. I got the best Klingon in that one.
Yeah,
Michael and Sarah.
Where was he? And they got these little short, kind of wimpy Klingons before, and it's like, where is what's his name? Michael Sarah? What was it?
Michael and Sarah.
Michael and Sarah, right? Barbara Eden's husband at the time. That guy was a big dude and an intimidating guy. And,
he never looked like he was ever having a good time in any show or movie I ever saw him in.
I know. I often thought about this. The guy he was just like mean looking and intimidating. I'm like, he must have been like the nicest guy off camera, because why would Barbara Eden, because he was like he actually was in I Dream of Jeannie. He was like this evil genie dude that was trying to take her away from
Major Nelson.
Major Nelson, yeah. Which is, so I guess we're Look at us going off track again. But
yeah, Anthony Mark says the Organic Peace Treaty referenced in the opening moment of Tribbles. Okay. Yeah.
Well,
I knew it. But that's just one reference point. There wasn't a lot of references to other episodes, especially big things like the Doomsday Machine and having an entire solar system, or not solar system, but planetary system, wiped out by something, and not at least acknowledging that it could be another Doomsday Machine, But I don't know which one aired first, to be honest. I'd have to check that.
That is an excellent question, because
let me see if it's in this.
Because I think Doomsday Machine aired way after or later in the second season. There was a lot of special effects in that, and I'll bet it really put them behind the 8 ball on that. But I did like this episode. I thought it was interesting. The whole idea of this tiny little ship, and Scotty has that great line. What kind of intelligent life could fit on a ship that small? And Spock's like, well, the size of an individual, whatever, doesn't dictate the intelligence. And Scotty just does this. He just kind of goes, goes back to, he's like, don't mess with Spock.
The Changeling appeared first.
Okay, the Changeling was
even though it was shot after. Doomsday Machine was October 20th, and the Changeling broadcast in September 29th. So
there you go. That would explain it.
So that's why they couldn't, they didn't mention it, because it hadn't happened, at least as far as, the people had seen.
Right. And I mean, that's probably I'm sure they probably made a rule with you guys. Don't reference any previous episodes because we don't know when, and a lot of guys were working independently, right? So you'd get scripts being written over here, and this guy didn't know what that guy was doing. And then,
right.
So you can see a lot of reasons for it now, because now don't they have, when they're doing television now, you've got like a crew of writers, and they're all sort of in contact with everybody. And so they all know where they're going and all that kind of stuff. But back then, it seemed like Roddenberry was going out of his way to hire different people, especially in the first season, science fiction writers and different people to give different voice to this as it was getting developed. And so, you got one guy, like I said, you've got who's the not Ron Goulart, but he wrote all the Star Wars novelizations like Splinter in the Mind's Eye and
Alan Dean Foster.
Was it Foster? No, there was another guy. He's a science fiction writer. He did a lot of he was like a story. He was greatly involved in the original series. And
David Gerald?
Yes. David Gerald.
Who wrote Trouble with Tribbles.
Yeah. But he also wrote, he wrote a great,
he didn't write Splinter in the Mind's Eye. I'm pretty sure that was Alan Dean Foster.
Yeah, that was Alan Dean Foster. You're right. But I was thinking him, but David Gerald has done other stuff, science fiction wise. That was.
Hello.
Hey, there she is. Woo!
There's baby Peaches, Mama.
Yeah, baby Peaches.
Well, there's a story there.
No sleep the past couple weeks, but I'm here.
That's
big.
We appreciate
the effort.
Yeah,
I know.
I will say when I was your age and had kids, I didn't have to stream. So
yeah,
we thank you for being here, and we know your pain.
No problem. What did I miss?
You missed the sterilization.
Oh. Sterilize. Wouldn't it have been great if they'd used Piglet's voice in the
for Nomad?
Sterilize, kill you all. Sterilize,
kill you all.
I was thinking that as they were carrying him to the transporter. I go, this is very similar to Wolf in the Fold.
We were just basically talking about some of the plot holes, like wiping out Uhura's mind and then being able to re-educate her and all her memories
in like a day.
In a day or two, or even a week. She's like 30 years old, but now she doesn't remember the frat party she was at, or she has no memory of anything but she knows how to say blue now.
Bluey,
Bluey,
Bluey.
you know,
And
that,
that she
that
was-
was a huge plot hole, which is really unrealistic, I thought.
And she was still speaking Swahili, even though she didn't know English. It's like, how did she learn Swahili if her mind was erased? So stuff like that. you
Yeah.
know, little things.
Oh, and how Scotty grew back his finger when you see him like laying against the wall.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. The
I didn't
stunt
know
man's hand.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Good for you, man. She's like looking at the super details. Look, his finger grew back. I didn't even think to look. Now I'm gonna have to go back and watch it now and see if
Well,
I can
That's-
see.
that
anytime you
stunt
see
man's the
Scotty's
same
hands, you want
guy.
to see if his finger's there.
That's true. I didn't even know that until Adam Hughes pointed it out to me a couple years ago at San Diego. We walked into this toy booth, my son and I, and Adam was in there, and they had these really, really nice, like 12-inch Star Trek dolls. I can't remember the company, and really, really articulate, and the faces were really great and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, he's just geeking out, and he goes, "Look, they even got, remember, Scotty's missing his finger." And I went, "Scotty's missing his finger?" And then Adam explained to me that James Doohan didn't, was missing part of his finger. And I had never even known that my entire life. And then, so that's how I learned about Scotty's finger.
Wow.
That should have been an episode, Scotty's finger.
He gave the finger to the wrong alien. Speaking of which, we've got this question. Okay, so again, through the eye or up the
Oh my gosh. Is this
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Russell.
so this
yeah, this is Russell. This is Anna's buddy.
did you guys ever watch Fire in the Sky? The alien abduction movie?
No.
Oh, it sounds familiar.
I know the title, but I haven't not seen it.
It's that story. It's supposed to be like a true story where the guy got abducted by aliens and he talks about how they experimented on him. Well, one of the scenes in the movie is where he's like wrapped up. It looks like a spider web, like has him all wrapped up, and they have his eye open and they like stick a needle in his eye.
Ooh.
And so the question Russell is asking,
Well, then wait a
would you
minute. I
rather
know-
be probed up the butt or in the eye with the
Okay,
needle?
well, here's the thing, though.
By
Is my eye gone, or is it just
No, your eye is there. You're wide awake. You're
right? But when
No, just
when they
needle.
drop me off, can I still use the eye?
yes.
Then I'll take the eye torture.
Ow.
Sorry, I'm not letting nobody in my back business. I'm telling you that right now.
Well, the argument isn't like, don't you like, when they stick the camera up your butt?
Yeah, I'm asleep though.
That's true.
And who knows what these aliens, what their real intentions are, right?
That's true.
So you don't
They're
want them going
homo
Neil
aliens.
Gaiman on you. Sorry.
That's what they are. One of my favorite bits in this episode is just a minor bit of dialogue that Shatner does when after he brings Spock out of the mind meld and he says he's space happy. He thinks I'm his father. And then Spock says that could be the only thing keeping us alive. And Kirk looks at him like this and he goes, yeah. It's like he gives like this very, and it's much more subtle than the way I did. He's like, yeah. And then he grabs Spock and off they go. It's just a small little bit of business, but it's those little nuances that I love so much when I watch Shatner work in these shows.
Yeah, because this is before he went off the rails and actually was trying, and there is a lot of subtleties in his performance on this show that are really, really nice. And then you think how difficult it was to control him in the movies, to get just a decent performance out of him. It just cracks me up. The guy who directed Star Trek II, who's
Nicholas Meyer.
Yeah. Nicholas Meyer telling the story. I'm sure you've heard it. Maybe we even talked about it here before about the part where Kirk says to Khan, "Here it comes."
Right.
But he wanted to say it like, "Here it comes." And they're like, "No." And he had to like do it so many takes that Shatner got bored. And then that's the take he used when Shatner was just like, "Here it comes." And he's like, "Perfect," And it's like, what kind? You'd have to be an idiot not to realize how stupid delivering the line like that would be, and yet either he didn't care or he didn't realize it. But back then, he was trying. It seemed like, because I thought he was a fine actor in Star Trek, and then the older he got, the more hammy he became. Just my observation,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Anna feels differently.
You know what? Oh, you know what I didn't know, and because I actually decided I'm going to look it up today, because when they were using the scanners out there, and they said, it's 500 and something kilograms and a little above 1 meter tall. How
Right.
could something, how could something that small be that heavy or something? So I looked it up. So 500 kilograms is almost a ton. It's 1,100 pounds. And the thing is like 3 feet tall. So it means that, it's got all this mass in there.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Which explains why they had to use those anti-grav things to move it around, because the damn thing was so heavy.
Yeah. That makes sense now. So that fills in one of the holes.
Yeah. I don't know why they, use kilograms, it's America, buddy. We don't understand that stuff. I got to look it up.
Well, it harkens back to that George Washington skit that they did on Saturday Night Live with the weights and measures. Did you see that?
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
That was funny.
So even in the future, the United States is still the only place that uses non-metric. Every place in the universe uses metric, but the United States still refused to use metric.
We don't need the metric system.
Yeah. There was something else I wanted to bring up on this show about this episode. Do you think Kirk is responsible for the deaths of all the crewmen because he brought that thing on board, or was it the only choice he had because they would have been destroyed if he hadn't brought it on board?
Their shields were completely down. If they didn't bring it on board and have conversation, he ran the risk of him blowing the whole Enterprise up. So,
yeah,
that's a good answer. I'll take that. I'll accept that, because I was sitting there thinking, man, a lot of crappy stuff has happened since they brought that thing on board. Because Kirk was like, during the episode, he was like questioning his judgment a couple times, like when they showed him the star charts, right? Oh, we never should have done that. And oh, now there's 4 crewmen dead. Oh, I never should have brought him on board. And
yeah, the red shirt count in this is pretty high. He kills them 2 at a time.
Yeah. And they're all dumb enough. It's like, didn't the first security guards, they learn don't fire on the thing? He's just going to destroy. He's got a shield with,
I think it's funny when the crew member is, kind of watching over Nomad, and then Uhura calls down. He's going to check on some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so she starts, humming and singing. And so all of a sudden, his little antenna goes.
Thanks, Graham. I hadn't thought of it that way. Now I'll never forget it.
Hey, Ron made it.
Hey,
I thought you'd appreciate that scene, Ron, when a Nomad first hears the voice of Uhura singing, all of a sudden his little antenna goes.
Right. We could read into all kinds of things with that.
Oh, absolutely.
And as I just said, I had never thought of that in my entire 61 years of existence. I'd never thought of that until Graham brought it up, and now I'll never.
You see, it's not only me.
Yeah,
you can't unsee it now.
Yeah,
That's good. That's true. Now that you see it, you can't unsee it.
Maybe that was Tanru.
The other. That was the other.
The other, yeah.
The other coming out. Yeah.
That's why Nomad was so conflicted.
Aw.
I thought that was a really great concept of the merging of these 2 electronic things to become an entity,
Yeah. V-Ger.
Yeah, basically.
Hey, but here's a question. If Spock, the information Spock garnered from mind melding with this thing, right? Basically that the other was this thing that collected soil samples and sterilized the soil samples. So he got that from Nomad's memory bank. So why wasn't Nomad able to discern the fact that he had faulty programming based on what the original programming of his and this other thing was? Or do you think it just became the new programming and it superseded even the fact that he would know that the other had one type of programming and he had another, and they combined to create this new programming?
He was,
But you know what I'm saying?
he was trapped inside another robot's body, you know. If you get my drift.
He didn't
Oh
know
my
which
God.
which robot bathroom to use, and
Yeah.
He identified as something different.
yes,
It was causing all kinds of conflicting impulses in there. There's so much you could read into that little fucker.
oh my gosh, this show I had never the things we're getting into on I never would have guessed on this episode.
Yeah.
Don't you have a Nomad?
Who?
Ron, don't you have a Nomad? You.
No, I don't.
You don't?
No. The only one I
Oh,
remember.
I thought somebody had like a Nomad that they bought.
No, I have one of the phasers from Star Trek Phase 2 that Brad Nelson was
Right.
gonna do. But I saw when I went to the Federation Trading Post in New York City in the 70s, they had a whole room bigger than my studio. And it was made up like the bridge, and then they had like an 11-foot Klingon ship in there, and they had a Nomad that lit up and talked, and it was amazing. And Doug Drexler, the guy who did all the effects for The Next Generation, was the guy who owned it. It was before The Next Generation, all that. That's why he had all these props and models and stuff that he built.
Was that
It was really, really cool. I wish it was still in existence because it was awesome.
They
Wow.
never did a Nomad toy or anything, did they? I would imagine. And
You can buy them. Actually, if
Yeah,
you go on
really?
Etsy, you go on Etsy and type in Star Trek, a Nomad or something. I think they have them on there.
oh,
But they're
really?
smaller. They're not full size. They're smaller.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting.
It'd be great if it had Vic Perrin's voice in it, though. That would be so cool.
Yeah. Right.
You can just go
Oh,
to
this is a
Build-A-Bear
question
and
for
Google
Ron.
heart.
You just won't let it go.
Oh no.
Russell wants to
Video
know
games.
about being probed by an alien, Ron. Would you rather have your eye probed or your butt probed?
So they're either going to stick a needle in your eye
boy,
or stick a probe up your butt.
I
For
can't
$5,
believe
you don't have to answer that.
Well, I was just going to say, I can't believe we only have so much time on this earth. And for me to spend any moments at all contemplating such feels like a real waste of life. So I'm just going to let it go.
That's an answer.
But it's a good question. Good question, Neil Gaiman's nut butter or whatever.
It's Russell Hall.
Truffle butter.
Neil Gaiman's homemade truffle butter.
That conjures up all kinds of images.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what were some of the trivia that you did in the captain's log for this that I missed?
Let me pull it up here.
Come on, you should know this. You just read it.
I know. But
I slept through it. I can't remember.
we've been talking.
We've gone off the rails.
Yeah. Jimmy Doohan thought that he was being canceled out of the show when he read the script because he got to the second act break and he got killed.
Yeah. You got zapped.
Yep. And that in the original draft, it was a lot like Star Trek: The Motion Picture, in that the Nomad was actually called Mariner, and it was a giant ship, and only a small part of it comes on the Enterprise, like a probe, like Ilea as the probe.
Okay.
So
that was the original script.
Yeah, that was in John Meredith Lucas's original script.
That's kind of like the other one though, the Fesarius. Because the
smaller
Fesarius,
ship,
and they had the little sort of been a little bit too similar, maybe. Now, wasn't the V-Ger thing sort of a last minute decision by them because they couldn't get a script in place? They went through
Well,
all
even
kinds
that script wasn't quite in place when they were shooting it, you know?
so they kind of resorted to doing the Nomad story or something.
Yeah. Well, I think Roddenberry wanted to do one about God. And
Yeah, they
and
call it the God
Paramount was like, nah, you know.
Isn't that
because
Star
he's-
Trek 5?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it ends up being like Star Trek 5.
the worst
Um,
movie ever made.
Yeah.
Well,
But then
that,
the other bit of
that and
trivia was
Superman 4.
when they show Jackson Roy Kirk, that picture,
Yeah.
that's the director, Mark Daniels.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I liked Mark Daniels directing in the episodes he directed, because if you notice, he has like some interesting camera movement and stuff
Yeah.
in his directing that a lot of other guys didn't.
Yeah.
So I always appreciated his
He
little
does
sort of
that shot
artistic
where the
flares.
camera's like attached to the back of Nomad, and like Spock is walking off the bridge, and the camera in Nomad, you know, he's following Nomad behind it, you know, in a point of view shot. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was
You're
McCoy,
saying
right?
right
We had to
from-
show him
yeah,
sick
like
bay.
he was on
Yeah,
a
it was
train
McCoy.
or something, and he was
Yeah.
They did a good job making him float around.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never did see the wires. Even in high def, you don't see them,
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
which
crazy.
is rare.
Like piano wire or something, right? Isn't
I
it?
guess they would have, right? I mean, they could have optically removed that though, couldn't they? Have, even back in '67.
They probably could have, but the cost to do it.
Yeah, that's probably right.
you
Well, there
know.
is ways to shoot it and light it so that you don't see that stuff.
Yeah, and that's probably what they did.
and
know,
they, you
they
pointed
had
out.
three different Nomads. You know, one was the one for the wires. One was on a dolly system so that they could push it through doors with the
Mhm.
camera, and make it feel like it was weighted and had, you know, was heavy because, you know, it's over 1,000 pounds. And then the third one was the one that they like would put on the tabletop.
I often wonder when they do those episodes like that, if they can go back and watch them and escape into them at all. You know, because they know how Nomad was being. They watched him being pushed around on a trolley and everything. And then,
You mean the
bet-
actors?
yeah, the actors to go back and watch it if they can. That's
I
probably
bet not. I
Yeah.
bet not. I bet not, because you're just like, oh yeah, that's the point where the guy, but was
Yeah,
we
it's
almost fell over. Remember that? You
That's
know?
probably why it's so hard for them to, well, like Shatner, for instance, to comprehend how into it people were. Because when you're behind the scenes, you're not escaping into it like the viewers, you know.
Right.
So people like that, it's just like, what the fuck, you know? It's because they saw all the things, you know. It's not the same.
Yeah.
And you know, and unlike some of the other actors, you know, he had a break in between his career, but then he was always working. You know, maybe not the hottest gigs, but he was always working.
Shatner.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was working a lot. He did. What did he do right after Star Trek?
Kingdom of
He
the
did
Spiders.
Barbary Coast in the early '70s.
Yeah.
Oh, is it-
Yep. That was like 75.
I think it was
Something like
earlier than that.
Well, he was in some of those, like
You're right. 75.
he was in the Devil's Reign, wasn't he? That,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Kingdom
had
of
a
the
small
Spiders.
part in that.
Spiders, Devil's
Kingdom of the
Reign.
Spiders.
King of the Spiders.
Oh.
The movie they filmed in Esperanto, the Succubus or the Incubus. It was one of those two. Did
It
you
was,
ever see that? You see any clips
Bowling
from
with
that?
the Stars.
What was
Right.
that, Ron?
Bowling with the Stars.
Circus of the Stars.
It's so funny because he goes out there to bowl. He's got all these stars, and this girl went ahead of him, and she got a strike, and so he was up next. And he goes out there because he's always trying to be charming, you know. And he goes out there with the ball, and he does this, rolls it like Shatner would do it, you know, and it goes right into the damn gutter. Oh, it's too funny. Just like the karate chop on the balsa wood.
Hey,
Oh,
well,
yeah,
I
that
was
was-
just watching him doing Rocket Man.
Oh God.
Oh
that is-
my Lord. I
oh
mean,
my-
it is so cringy
yeah, it's horrible.
with all the
And-
different images of him on the screen at the same time coming out. I'm a Rocket Man. Yeah.
He's got the cigarette, you know,
Yeah.
and he's sitting there on the steps, and it's like everybody in the audience just had to be going, "Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?"
Gotta
And-
hand it to him. He's lived quite a life for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy actually did go up into space.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he said, from what I heard, it was he
Well,
had
subspace, not quite space.
existential sort of crisis when he came down. Like,
Yeah,
that it freaked him out.
yeah,
It would freak anybody out, really.
yeah.
Now that shit, it's funny because when I was younger, I couldn't think of anything more I'd want to do than to be on that damn starship and sailing around the planets and stuff.
Mhm.
But then the reality, as I got older and got really into watching, learning about quantum physics and space and, everything that's out there in the black holes and stuff, I'm like, fuck that. I mean, it seems we are so small.
Yeah.
When, like that's the thing that Star Trek really never, it's the one thing it never really got that point across that you see now is just how tiny we actually are.
Right.
I mean, because it's just sailing from planet, and all the planets are kind of the same size that Enterprise flies around.
Sure.
But there's the largest planetary bodies we know. We are the size of an atom next to.
Right.
And it's all relative. Size, everything's relative to this, to that, to the. It's a fucked up thing that we're living in.
Right.
Seriously, man.
Craftily designed thing. I was thinking last night in the episode when they said, we can't take another hit or it'll destroy us, right? After their shields were down. And the first thing I thought of when was that situation was if they got hit by another shot and it blew open their ship, it was like a sub crew right underwater. And that thing blows up. You're going to drown. You're going to space. I guess you'd get blown apart, but it wouldn't be so, like suffering. But I just thought of that for what would it be like being out in the middle of space, the middle of nowhere, a million miles from home or wherever. And just that the ship breaks apart and you're sucked out into space, out into nothingness, and I had this really kind of weird moment because it really was because you have the naval language and it really is like the Enterprise is a submarine.
Yeah, no, it is
underwater, but it's
totally,
in space.
Totally that, yeah. I mean, I can't even. To me, that's a worse horror than anything that could happen to you here. I mean, think about that.
Yeah,
the reality of it. So, what do you think, Anna? Banana.
I don't know. Now I'm thinking of all the different ways you can die. I feel like that would be pretty fast. Like, I don't know. I don't want to get killed by a xenomorph. So.
Okay, yeah, I definitely.
Well, that's the funny part is like you don't want to get killed by a xenomorph, but you kind of went through that recently.
Yeah, that's true.
A thing
I
came
got
out
the
of you.
trespasser version of it, not the big monster part.
Did your baby come out like?
She does that. I call her my little monster because when she's hungry, she's like,
give me
that boob.
Basically.
This is Bruce McCandless, the first astronaut to do a spacewalk without being tethered. And talk about feeling alone. I mean, look at that. You got this blue marble under you and just blackness.
That's
flat, everywhere.
Dude. That's not everywhere. A marble. It's flat. It's hard to fathom it when you look into the blackness. That's the thing I mean. It's like I freak out about that shit all the time. Like I was just watching a documentary, Space is Scary, and and I'm watching like you're damn straight it is. I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
What the fuck? We're not meant to know this. We're not meant to be like Zeus looking, that's the thing that's fucked up about us is we put a Voyager probe out there that shot a camera shot of Earth back, the size of a pin head. And we're looking through the eyes of a god, basically. And I know that sounds crazy, but really think about that we actually have sent our eyes so far out that we can look at Earth as a speck in the distance in a sunbeam. I mean,
those pictures from the Mars rover that are pictures of the Earth. from the land, from the Martian surface,
Right.
as if we were up looking at the moon. Well, here's the Martian lander looking back at Earth, and there's this like little white dot,
Yeah.
that you can see a little bit through the little bit of atmosphere that they have there, and it's like that's us.
Mm-hmm.
That's where all the life in this solar system, all the intelligent life in the solar system is right there in that little place.
Yeah.
It's you're blowing my mind, man. We shouldn't have let Ron on, man. I'm just like right now. I'm just
I shouldn't have let Ron on. Thank you.
if I knew you were going to say things like that. But it is. I mean, when we're on Earth is this huge. We can't even see. I don't know how far you can see to the horizon before you lose vision, and then you get out in space and say it's like Horton Hears a Who, that little dust speck on the flower.
Exactly. That's right.
Yeah. Have you guys ever seen that video that it's a woman laying on the grass looking up, right? And the camera is looking straight down on her, and it goes down to her face, and then it comes back up and starts traveling away from her. And then you all of a sudden you see the block, and then the land, and then the country and the planet, and it just keeps going further and further out in space. And then it goes the other way, comes back, and then goes into her eye, and it goes into subatomica.
Yeah, I see that.
I mean, that thing just freaking blows my mind.
I was saying everything's
that
relative.
Men in Black with the cat.
What's that?
Isn't that in Men in Black with the cat, like the galaxies in his
Yeah.
There's something like that.
And then the next one, it's aliens playing with marbles, and we're like in one of
Oh,
those.
I mean, to something in that quantum realm, we are celestial. But the further out you go, we are nothing but it. So it's infinity. The one thing that Stephen Hawking said that is the hardest thing to wrap your head around, because they can't seem to really prove for sure that there was ever a beginning, because what would have been before it anyway? And Stephen Hawking said sometimes we have to just really try to comprehend that it just is.
Mm-hmm.
That's the hardest thing to wrap your head around, that there is no such thing as nothing. It just is. There was no beginning. There is no end. It just is. That because we can't comprehend, because we have a beginning and an ending. Time is sort of a construct that we sort of,
it's one of our control
the universe.
Yeah.
What's that? What?
I said time is as you said, a construct. It's one of our control mechanisms. Man wants to control his environment, wants to have at least some control, he thinks, over his world and his life, and it's really just ethereal. It's not there.
I'm just laughing. I just looked at the comments. Robert Kopp says, "Calm down, Anna," because Anna's just sitting there like.
Well, I've noticed my camera's cutting out, so I'm like, I have to hold still.
She's losing it on the inside, Ron, where it counts. But cool as a cucumber.
I want to zoom in through Anna's eyeball and see
what's going on in there.
What's going on
in
there.
Mechanisms.
The first time I ever saw that kind of possibility was Kirby did it in the Fantastic Four in Worlds Within Worlds, when the Silver Surfer was going to try and escape Galactus, and he goes into that microverse, and then all of a sudden he's free again. He's got this entire universe to surf in, and I thought that was really, really cool.
It's interesting when you see because we can photograph atoms now. We have pictures of them now, what they look like, and it's funny how the more powerful we got with the microscopes and everything, and how we kept discovering something even smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And smaller. Mm-hmm. So we've gotten to like, what is the smallest thing? We've like a
quark,
I think, around there. Yeah.
He was in Babylon 5, I think. No, not.
No, that was Deep Space Nine.
Deep Space Nine. I know it was the number.
Anna, did you ever, when you ever kissing Peaches, you guys ever just look in each other's eyes and try to get in there?
I try to lick his eyeball and he freaks out.
Lick his eyeball?
To say you might be wiping out a whole
now I should be able to do whatever I want, and he's like, no, I'll lose my eye. So it's something that freaks him out that I
Lick his eyeball.
Yeah,
What?
well,
don't really want
there's
to
a
do it,
lot
I
of
just like
germs on the tongue, and then when
Yeah,
it goes into
it's
your
like a
eyeball,
zombie movie or something.
Like,
It's just my way of
eyeball.
She does that, and then we look outside and we see a giant tongue licking the earth.
yeah,
It's Hannah.
Well, it's
it's
interesting.
Galactus.
The incredible shrinking man
Yeah.
ends that way,
Oh, I
and just
love
like
that
kind of
movie.
blows your mind. You know,
Well,
it just
Yeah.
keeps getting smaller and smaller and becomes nothing, and it's just
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a book by a microbiologist. I can't remember the guy's name, but it's called Darwin's Black Box. And in the book, he talks about
There's a name for his favorite hooker.
his name is Darwin, and he has this favorite black box. But what he talks about is the smaller you get, the more you find out that everything works in precision.
Yeah,
So what he was discovering was that as you keep getting smaller and smaller, there's less randomness, and so it gives way to the idea of creation of a designer, because
right.
there's nothing random.
Who wrote this book?
He was a microbiologist. I can't remember the guy's name, but the
Yeah,
book
I've
is
got
called-
the other book he wrote is Darwin's Doubt. Same guy.
Is it?
Yeah.
So this is a factual thing that he's explaining. That
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a microbiologist.
What everything is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a complex machine, the way the cell operates, and there's no way that evolution could work.
Right.
At least Darwin's interpretation of it, because you don't go from simple to complex. You start at complex, and we slowly decay. So it goes.
There's another guy who I watched on recently on a couple of different podcasts. He might have been on Rogan too, but I can't remember his name, Steven something. But he was talking about one of those and how it's like a little engine, and it has this leg that comes over and it tows.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I've
It
seen
kind of
that.
whips around and whips around.
Yep.
It's like
And
there's
it's
no
like
way.
walking. It's like this orb that's walking.
Yeah, and there's little pieces to it that if you didn't have that one little piece, this mechanism wouldn't work.
Right.
Well, that has to be designed by something. You know, it can't just happen.
Yeah, it can't be random.
It's
Because
crazy.
that's life. That's life down there. And then the other thing that recently they showed that the moment that a sperm enters the egg, there's a flash of light.
The chemical zinc. It's like a zinc.
Anna's right there, you know.
It's this burst of energy, which is to me just fascinating.
Yeah,
it's fascinating, Doctor.
I think about that a lot.
What, the sperm part?
Yeah, the explosion part. Can't help it. It's how I'm designed. An intelligent designer made me think about it.
It's
Stephen C. Meyer is the guy.
That's it. That's it, Meyer. I knew
Stephen Meyer. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the microbiologist that we're both.
Yeah, I know who that guy is. That's the one I saw on the cast.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
it's got like brown straight hair, and he looks kind of like was it Sam Donaldson a little bit.
Oh Lord. Does he talk like Sam Donaldson?
You guys remember Roger Mudd?
Oh yeah.
Roger Mudd, Walter Cronkite, all those guys.
Oh, yeah.
The good old days of
Nomad.
Yeah. What were we talking about? Oh.
Like how could V-Ger, speaking of Nomad and V-Ger, it's like Spock says, you know, he spanned the limits of the universe. And, you know, and he wants to know if this is all that I am, kind of like the way Nomad is. But I find even that hard to believe, knowing the size of the universe, that anything would span the entire universe. You know, it would just it would never end. Anyway, so what's your scores?
Now that we're just completely
we are at that
exhausted this time.
But first we got to get Russell's. There's a flash of light when Anna watches Henry Cavill put a computer together.
Well, you like Henry Cavill?
Oh yeah.
Well, you would like my son. He looks just like him with blonde hair.
Oh, there you go.
She's a
When
married
Henry was
woman,
building the
Ron.
piece, so Ron, I don't know if you've ever watched my channel, but my #1 viewed video was me reacting to Henry Cavill build a PC.
Oh, is that right?
Oh,
Yeah, I titled it like reacting. My uterus exploded reacting to Henry Cavill.
My uterus
well,
exploded.
that'll bring in the views for sure.
I remember girls are funny, man. I went to the Super Bowl twice because I got tickets through Marvel as part of my renegotiation of my contract. So
Ooh, look at you
I
go.
got to go to 2 Super Bowls and with impeccable seats behind the end zone in the VIP sections where I was hanging out with like Shaq and all these freaking people. Bill Cosby was sitting near me and stuff. It was crazy.
Did
But
he ever
anyway,
get you a drink?
huh?
Did Bill Cosby ever get you a drink?
Yeah, no.
Okay,
Then-
just
Yeah,
checking.
he had some barbiturates he wanted to offer.
Yeah.
Freaking guy. But anyway, so when I went down, we were in Miami and I was with a couple guys who were from MTV. And one of the guys was a really good looking guy who looked like kind of Paul Newman meets Mel Gibson. Really bright blue eyes and handsome as fuck, tan and svelte. And we went out to some clubs and these girls were coming over to me and they're like, a couple of them said, they go, I really want to have his babies. Like, no lie. I'll take him out. She told me, I'll take him out in the parking lot and fuck him right now just so I can have his babies.
Jesus.
I'm like, okay, well, I'll tell him you said that.
Nobody said that about you, though, Ron. None of the women
Well,
came.
not that I know of.
Okay, maybe they talked to him about you, though.
Maybe.
So the
Because
ending of
nobody
this,
got nothing.
You never asked me how my first child was born, Aaron. So yeah.
That's okay. That's what my mom said to when she met Peaches. She's like, "When am I getting grandchildren?" And we had like just started dating.
Oh yeah, well that's good.
Wow, that's a mom in a
I
hurry.
like
oh, good old
Well.
Peaches.
her uterus exploded when she saw Peaches.
No. Like my mom wanted grandchildren. She's like, "He's handsome." Be
Yeah,
my-
get together, get some kids. Okay, so at the end of this episode, someone I think Henry Jeremick brought it up in the chat, and I wanted to bring it up and I'd forgotten. So thanks, Henry, for reminding me. So at the very end, does this episode feel like an end of like episode of Police Squad or something where he's like, my son, the doctor, kind of gets you right here. And they all kind of go, wah, wah, wah. It's like, I mean, I thought it was amusing, but it seemed like really a different tone for what the whole, for the whole episode was. And then it gets really light like that.
Yeah, it was a little goofy, campy, and then the Enterprise sails off into space, and they're all like, "Ah, shucks."
Yeah, exactly.
It really sucks that the entire star system got killed, but
Yeah,
my doctor,
My son, the doctor.
my
I'm
son.
gonna get you right here.
And they almost lost Uhura's freaking mind forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Skyrim was killed.
Yeah. Now, also, did the oh geez, I just lost my train of thought. Give me Anna, sing a song for us while I think, and I'll try and remember.
I could not sing.
It's
about
funny,
Beyond
speaking of that
Antares?
Uhura scene, that's the other thing I always had trouble with is how fast she got back to college level. She's just reading stuff and she couldn't even pronounce words. And Nurse Chapel's like, she's like a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she's back in,
Right. But as we had mentioned before you came on, it's like, okay, all right, maybe they've got some super scientific way to insert math and science and English and stuff into her brain. You can't return her memories. She can't remember that frat party she was at, or that first guy she dated or whatever,
Yeah, or making out with Spock in an alternate universe.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I did bring this up before Ron and Anna got here, was that the fact that they wrote in her speaking Swahili, which is completely absurd. They must have, as the writers, had some sort of vision of what that mind wipe was, and it wasn't a complete loss. It couldn't have been, because why would they have her speaking Swahili if she had a complete mind wipe? Because there's no way she would know Swahili.
Well, they didn't make that clear enough.
No, they didn't. But
Yeah.
I'm just okay. So here's
Again, it's one of those things you just have to take on faith that they,
Right.
it's artistic license and all that. You have to just accept.
Sure.
There's certain
Okay.
things you have to just accept as, you know, to
I
get.
never noticed this before, but maybe it's just because we watched these two episodes so close together. But did you notice the ending of this is almost identical to the ending of Wolf in the Fold?
Is it?
Oh, so
Okay, in Wolf in the Fold, they're dragging Piglet to the transporter and widest possible dispersion. And this
oh
one, they're
yes,
dragging
yes, yeah.
Nomad
How
to
they
the
dispose of
transporter.
it.
Yeah, and I was like, why didn't they just, rather than trying to get him to blow up, just
Yeah.
widest possible
That's true.
dispersion, and you've destroyed Nomad, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
How cool would it have been though if they did a thing where the change where Nomad met the Doomsday Machine? What a battle that would have been.
Yeah, or if in the next generation they somehow tied Tanru into the beginnings of the Borg.
Oh, yeah, that'd been interesting.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Or even brought Jack the Ripper back because, you know, he can never really die. So,
Yeah,
eventually-
Jack the Ripper as a Borg.
yeah.
It's a
Oh.
Borg, yeah.
Well, they have that one.
Imagine
like,
a Borg.
Resistance
going,
is futile.
You'll all die.
Resistance is futile.
Anna, what were you going to say before
Oh,
Ron
no,
cut you
that
off?
episode where Tasha Yar dies, they have like this black gooey monster. That should have just been Jack the Ripper.
Oh, that's
Oh
right.
yeah, I
I hated
remember
that
that.
episode.
yeah.
with
When
That
that killed
goofy looking
Tasha
tar
Yar.
thing.
Yeah, that terrible.
Why did she get written out of the show like that?
Because she wanted to leave. She's like,
Oh,
I'm
she
tired of being
wanted
the
to
hot
leave.
blonde.
No, yeah, because actually, you know that that documentary series I told you guys about, The Center Seat. They actually addressed that directly, and she said that she went in there and after the end of or near the end of the first season or whatever, that she wanted more screen time. She wanted stories about her character, and they're just like, no. And so then she demanded to be written out, and so they killed her.
But
I
they
don't know
did
if that
bring
was a
her
great
back in
decision
that.
on
I
her part.
remember
Universe
watching that episode.
She
like,
comes
what-
back like twice. So she comes back in like the alternate, not the mirrored universe, but like an alternate universe.
Yeah, she does to save the ship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then she has like a Romulan daughter that she plays later.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
That's
right.
right. Yeah.
She's romantically linked with one of the crew members or something.
Yeah, she bangs Data.
Well, that besides that, but
Oh,
in the one she's talking about, she's like, there's a romance thing.
Yeah, she likes, what is his name? Richard. Who
Richard.
takes over the ship.
Oh yeah.
I'm blanking on his last name, but
The
Well,
fact
she
that we
right
know
after
it's-
that, she did Pet Cemetery, didn't she?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
did. That was about it, right? It was Pet Cemetery, then nothing. So,
Then,
should
and then
have
she-
stayed on the show.
nothing is worse than that redheaded dude who left that cop show.
Oh, my
Oh,
gosh, what a
David
disaster.
Caruso.
David
Yeah.
Caruso,
Yeah.
He just like, what the
he
fuck?
was so great. I watched that show because of him.
Yeah, and then he left thinking he was going to be a big movie star, and he ruined every movie he was in.
Yep.
what was this?
Well, isn't it funny though? It was the fat guy on that show that kept getting all the Emmy nominations, not the
Oh.
red-haired dude.
The Sipowicz character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, there you go. That's all I got for you.
Oh, you didn't get a number.
Well, that's what I was going. Okay, I'm ready for the numbers if you're ready, Graham. So here we go.
I'm ready.
I liked it. Enjoy this episode. A lot of good stuff in it, but some dumb stuff in it that's sort of. I'm going to go 7. 7.
7.
Anna
Okay.
Banana.
I'm gonna say a 5 or a 6.
Not
Depends
a big
on my
fan
mood.
with that. Not a
Okay,
big fan.
5 or 6. That's our low ball.
Whoa, wait a minute. We never got your number on Wolf in the Fold. I have to hear that.
You know what? I need to go rewatch it. I haven't watched it in a long time.
Well, what's your gut telling you right now? You have a feeling about it. You know you do.
I haven't watched this one in a long time. I'd probably say about the same thing. How about this? Before next week, I'll watch
All
it.
right, yeah, you
before-
watch
Okay.
it
And
between
I'll
now and
give it-
then.
Okay.
And-
All right.
yeah.
All right.
Let me see what is next
It
week.
better be a high score, baby, or there's going to be trouble.
Oh, we got a stinker next week.
What is it next week?
The Apple.
Oh
Oh, I
God.
like that one.
David
Hey.
Soul.
Yeah.
Hey,
Don't
With
give
Vol-
up on us, baby.
listen. When Vol hungers, you must feed Vol. Okay.
Mhm.
That has the red phasers in it.
Does it?
Mhm.
I'll watch closely.
When it hits Vol, it's the red phasers.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, basically that's the same plot as Landru. You know, this computer thing running the society, and then they have to destroy the computer.
Little
Yeah,
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
He looks like a dinosaur, though, so that makes him
Yeah.
cool.
They dip their heads in cotton candy machines.
Yeah, true enough.
That's what Vol really was, a big cotton candy machine. They just stuck their heads in.
Yeah, and they come out.
They're all eating each other's hair.
Yeah.
All right, Ron, what's your number?
Yeah, this is a tough one, man, because I like it, but compared to the Doomsday Machine, it doesn't hold a candle to it.
No.
Opinion. I like the Doomsday Machine is one of my favorites.
Well, you gave it a 10, so anything
Did I?
less than that. Yeah, you did. You
I
went,
gave it a 9.5, but maybe
well,
um,
yeah, but you
I
changed your mind.
renegotiated it.
Yeah, you did renegotiate it to a 10, I thought.
Right. Yeah, so I'll give it. It's entertaining enough. I think it has some technical issues, and I like with the Uhura thing, and I like Spock's line. Your logic is impeccable, Captain. We're in great danger.
Yeah.
I know that was a great line.
That was good.
We're in great
So,
danger.
There's also, don't forget, Nomad's line. What is that? That's a woman. A mass of conflicting impulses.
I'll give it a 10. Just for that line alone. Yeah. No, I have a bit of a problem whenever Kirk becomes the center of the damned universe too. Like, it's this fucking thing's creator just happened to be named Kirk, this thing that's sailing around the galaxy, and but again, that's just nitpicky, I guess. So I'll give it a 6.5, 7.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. I'm the only thing I dislike about this is the plot point of Uhura losing her mind. But even in that, there's some really nice scenes between her and
Yes.
the Nurse Chapel.
Yeah.
This is one, if it's on, I'll always watch it. So I got an 8 on this one.
Ooh.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. I mean, it's weird. It's like, again, I keep thinking of last week and how excited I was over Doomsday Machine.
Yeah.
I don't quite feel that about this, but I still like the episode.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good, solid episode.
Yeah.
So,
Nomad was a cool design too, and I like the voice in it and everything.
Yeah.
what did Anna give this episode again?
Like a 5 or a 6.
See, once again, she's bringing everybody down.
All right. So I'm the high, and Anna's the low, so that knocks those two out. And what were you two?
7s.
Yeah, 7.
Both 7s, right? So it's a 7.
There you go. Ron and I once again deciding how things turn out. Very interesting.
By
Very
default.
By default.
It's our world, and you guys are just living in it.
That's right.
That's
This
right.
Great big universe.
That's right. I'm gonna go into the microverse where everything makes sense, where there's where there's mechanical things that were designed.
That is fascinating. But I would say when you said microverse, I was thinking even deeper, like into the quantum realm. And so if you get into quantum physics, though, things get fucking weird.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So biologically, things get more and more ordered. But then when you get farther down than that, they get crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Where reality is, you've got like what Einstein called spooky action in the distance with the particles that are, interact with each other, and they could be clear across the universe. And if one goes this way, the other one does the same thing like this.
Well, see, that's why I hated Avengers Endgame so much, because Thanos says in the, he's like, oh, I snapped them, or I broke them down to like the microscopic level, and I was like, oh, so this is going to be Ant-Man. They're all going to have to get in those Ant-Man suits and shrink down and have to go find the Infinity Stones. And it's like, oh no, we're going to go time travel. It's like, what?
Yeah.
So stupid.
Yeah.
She's so upset.
Well, we could do a whole show on that movie because I can't stand that movie.
And how awful it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like once they figure that out, it seems also so simple. Like, oh, really? That's all you got to do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but don't you guys check your brain at the door on movies like that and just kind of go along for the ride?
Yeah, I do until they bring my brain back. And that's the problem is that they do something that is so stupid that your brain kicks back in.
So
You're like, whoa, wait a second.
It's so overindulgent with that stuff. I mean, they just.
Well, my thing, I'm like, you guys are supposed to be the smartest people in the universe, yet my dumbass can think of a better solution than you. This is a problem.
That's why you need to start writing your own books.
There you go, Anna.
I don't want
Banana.
You got the
I have a
following.
baby I have
You'd be a
to
huge
Call it
success.
Anna Banana's Worlds of Wonder.
Listen, I just want to
With
sit in my
peaches.
corner and paint. That's all I want to do.
That's good too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I saw.
All
a
right, gang.
sketch
Thanks
recently.
everybody for tuning in. Tomorrow or next week we have the Apple.
Where Chekhov gets a little.
Yeah, we just came off 3 really good ones. The Apple is not one of them.
I
So
like
that
it.
could be.
Hey now,
I
so-
like the apple.
I reserve rights until I watch it again.
Do you ever wonder if the Enterprise crew, like, they go, like, they came from Doomsday Machine, then to Nomad, then to Val? Do they go, man, this one sucked? Like, like they're living the episode, but there's like, yeah, the whole Val thing kind of sucked, man. Remember a couple weeks ago we were fighting the Doomsday Machine?
Now we got to deal with this.
Exactly. And they get to the Omega Glory, and they're just like, what the fuck?
Right. Oh look,
The Omega Glory is
Constitution.
The Constitution is e pluribus unum.
Unum.
Omnisa.
Oh, you're just saying it so bad.
the
let a
Omega
Canadian do
Glory.
it.
The Omega Glory is one of my guilty pleasures. So
Oh my
Yeah.
god! Well, I liked it because of Spock's eyes when he's like trying to get in that chick's head.
Yeah.
Makes her do something. That was cool. I thought.
I like was it Robert Wood? No, Woodard, the actor who plays Captain Tracy. He kicks Kirk's ass 6 days to Sunday.
He does.
Yeah, he
And he towers over him. He's like 6'3", and he just, he even just gives Kirk a quick karate chop, like, sit down, little man.
Yeah, I know he does. He's like a 10th degree where Kirk is a 1st degree.
Yeah.
But, the only problem with that is I can't get past him being in that earlier episode with the
That's Dr. Simon Gelder. Dr. Simon Gelder.
Yeah, I mean that's the same guy for Christ's sakes. You couldn't find another damn actor. I mean, come on.
But a completely different character. This guy's so stoic and big and
Yeah.
badass.
We drained 50 phasers and they kept.
You know what one that just popped into my head that I forgot about was for the world is hollow and I have touched the sky.
That is the most pretentious title and the worst episode. God, I hate that episode.
I
Anyway.
like that episode.
Oh, my.
McCoy got.
That girl's
That was
hot
getting,
too.
she was
Wow.
hot for McCoy, boy.
Yeah, it was. That's 3rd season, though. So come on now.
So's Omega Glory, isn't it? Isn't that 3rd season?
I
Which
think
one?
it is.
Omega Glory?
No,
Mega Glory is.
Is that second season?
it's 2nd season.
Oh, okay.
That's why I like it.
Yeah, it's got to be a later 2nd season episode.
I'm a total simp for the 2nd season of Star Trek. So.
I know.
Yeah,
All right, gang. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, live long and prosper, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly